Hey YouTube, we are back again this week for another video portion of the Daly Dose Sports Podcast. Hope everyone out there is doing well. Today we are actually ranking each starting quarterback in the NFL right now to prepare for the upcoming season, and we are now at the AFC and NFC West divisions. We are looking at their confidence that we should have in those quarterbacks. Let's jump into that right now. So we finish up our NFL quarterback confidence scale as we look at how much confidence each team's fan base has in their starting quarterback. And then we let you know how much confidence we should actually have in those quarterbacks. And we now reach the AFC West. Of course, the AFC West has some of the best young quarterbacks in the entire league playing in it. And then it also has some other guys too. So let's dive into the AFC West right now. Since winning Super Bowl 50 back in 2015, the Denver Broncos are averaging a whopping 6 wins per season. And no small part of that is the fact that the Broncos can't seem to find a quarterback. And this year is no different. The Broncos have a training camp battle going on between Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater in a battle, honestly, of who can suck the least. And it's a tight race. Now, I would prefer Teddy Two Glove. I would hope he would get the nod, but I worry that the front office pride won't allow that to happen. I mean, they did draft Drew Lock. Now, if you were to ask the average Bronco fan how confident they are in Drew Lock, they would probably feel pretty negative. They would probably give him like a 3 or a 4. That, my friends, is incorrect. That is far too high. Drew Lock deserves a 0, which is the same number of impressive plays that Lock has made in his professional career. 0. Once again, getting more than 5 or 6 wins might be a struggle for this team if Drew Lock is the quarterback. At the other end of the spectrum are the Kansas City Chiefs, who have been the butt of so many jokes for years, since the days of like Len Dawson and maybe like 2 seasons under Joe Montana, but the Chiefs did finally find their quarterback. KC fans would rank their superstar quarterback Patrick Mahomes a perfect 10. And honestly, we can't come up with a reason to disagree with him. I mean, he's athletic. He's smart. He works hard. What can't Patrick Mahomes do? Well, besides beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, apparently. But Patrick Mahomes is the total package. And the Kansas City Chiefs are primed to go to the 3rd Super Bowl in a row. It is Super Bowl or bust for the Chiefs, though, because that Patrick Mahomes contract is going to be kicking in soon. That's going to make getting a lot of weapons around him like he has now a little tougher. Next up are the Las Vegas Raiders, who started last season with a 6-3 record. They looked like a legit playoff contender, but then the Raiders' defense really melted down, and they lost 5 of their last 7 games to finish 8-8 and miss the playoffs yet again. Now, for all the talk that head coach John Gruden doesn't really seem to like Derek Carr, and he doesn't, he still hasn't found anyone else to take over. But this season is going to be very interesting for Derek Carr, because remember, he has played behind a pretty solid offensive line for most of his career. This offseason, though, we saw a lot of that Raider line leave and go elsewhere. So now we get to see if Derek Carr can still be the man under what is probably going to be a lot more pressure. There's no question he has some weapons. He has guys like running back Josh Jacobs, tight end Darren Waller, wide receiver Henry Ruggs. I believe Raider fans would probably rate Derek Carr around a 4 or 5, and that's probably correct. But this season, we're going to find out if he is better or worse than that. The Los Angeles Chargers are the final team in the AFC West, and for as snake-bitten as this franchise has been, they do seem to have finally found their franchise quarterback. Justin Herbert passed for 4,300 yards and 31 touchdowns as a rookie. Unfortunately, the Chargers finished just 7-9 because, as usual, they found new creative ways to lose games that they really should have won. Now, head coach Anthony Lynn got fired, and the Chargers brought in Brandon Staley to take this team back to the postseason. Now we get to see what Herbert does with all the expectations, because remember, he had none last year. The Chargers have a number of weapons for him to throw to, but their offensive line needs to give him some help, because here's the thing about Justin Herbert. He's not a quick release guy. He likes to stand in the pocket for a minute. He likes to throw it deep. Charger fans will obviously look at him as a 10, and I understand that. I'd make him more of an 8, but let's see what he does in year 2 with higher expectations. it could be a little bit different for Justin Herbert. We reached the final division of the league in our quarterback confidence scale today, and we may have saved the best for last because once again, the NFC West is stacked. The Arizona Cardinals were the surprise story of the first half of last season. Do you realize Arizona started the year last year 6-3 with wins over San Francisco, Seattle, and Buffalo? But then teams seemed to figure out what the Cardinals like to do. And it changed in the second half of the season. Arizona finished 8-8. In the offseason, Arizona pulled out all the stops to try to improve this roster. They brought in J.J. Watt, A.J. Green, James Conner, Malcolm Butler, Rodney Hudson. So this team needs to improve. I think Cardinals fans believe in quarterback Kyler Murray. They would rank him probably a 7, maybe even an 8. And they might be right. But this year, there will be pressure on him because there's going to be pressure on his head coach, Cliff Kingsbury, to get it done or be gone. The Cardinals have spent big money. They want to see a return. And like I said, Murray has weapons. Can he continue to improve? I'll rank him as a 6. We'll see if he can prove he's better than that. Next up is another team that is Super Bowl or bust, and that is the Los Angeles Rams. After going 10-6 and losing to Green Bay in the playoffs, the Rams decided to make a bold move. They shipped quarterback Jared Goff and some draft picks to Detroit for longtime losing quarterback Matthew Stafford. They feel like Stafford can take them from good to great. Now, it's hard for Rams fans to get excited. For one, they live in LA. But also, Stafford is a career 74-90-1 quarterback. Losing record. So Rams fans will have him at like a 6 or a 7, but Stafford didn't have a ton to work with in Detroit. He never had a running game. He never had much of an offensive system, and he sure didn't have the defense that the Rams have. So I think Stafford is probably more worthy of like a 7 or even an 8. Here is my only concern for Stafford. There is one other thing he never had in Detroit. We've talked about it already today. Expectations. They will be very high this season in LA. That team is built to win it all. The San Francisco 49ers were just in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Jimmy Garoppolo was a young quarterback with a bright future, and now, not so much. Jimmy G will still be the starter going into the season, we're pretty sure. But the Niners are already making other plans. They drafted North Dakota State quarterback Trey Lance, who has been impressive, they say, in training camp. So Niners fans are going to go into the year wanting to see the rookie. They're going to be ranking Jimmy G at like a 2 or a 3. Is he really a 2 or 3? No, probably not. He's more like a 4. But he had better bring it this year because his job is on the line, and we know the home team loves a promising backup quarterback. If Jimmy G isn't better than average, they're going to want to see the rookie, and all the heat is going to come down on Jimmy Garoppolo. We finish off our quarterback confidence scale with the Seattle Seahawks, who went 12-4 last year and then got pounded by the Rams in the playoffs. Well, Seattle didn't do much to bring in more talent this offseason, which led all-pro quarterback Russell Wilson, whom the hometown fans undoubtedly will rank a perfect 10. Well, Russell Wilson complained he wanted more help. In fact, he even talked about wanting to be traded out of Seattle. Now, Wilson has monster wide receiver DK Metcalf. He has speedster Tyler Lockett. He has running back Chris Carson, who is dangerous. But the defense isn't great. And the offensive line did get a little help, but they still have some gaps. But those comments by Russell Wilson, they make me downgrade him a little bit, just to a 9, because there's nothing like blasting your teammates to endear you to your team, right? This might not go so well this year, especially in such a tough division. Russell Wilson, I'm sure, felt those things. He probably should have kept them behind closed doors. Hey, the NFL preseason is underway. And as you can see, we have a lot to look for this year just watching the quarterbacks. And we know the game is much more than just the quarterbacks. I am really hoping to see the NFL have a fun, competitive season. After all the craziness we've had over the past year and everything, let's just have a really fun, competitive season. We're going to continue to get you ready for football season here on The Dose, so make sure you're tuning in every week. Okay, YouTube, be sure that you go over and you check out the rest of the podcast this week. This week on The Dose, we have to cover the rest of the NFL quarterbacks, obviously. Plus, we have some sports news stories talk a little bit about a coaching legend that is gone, and we also talk a little Olympic Games this week. So make sure you go over and you check out the rest of the podcast. I'll leave a link here on YouTube for you. Hope you all are doing well. I will see you all next Wednesday. Have a great week.